We're here to sift through mountains of information and pull out the practical stuff, the wisdom you can use, like, right now. And today, oh boy, we are tackling something huge. It's probably the biggest reason people give up on big goals. Doesn't matter if it's learning software, getting fit, or like our sources really focus on getting fluent in a tricky language, say, English.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about hitting the wall, you know the feeling, where everything feels 10 times harder, the end seems miles away, and you just want to quit.
Yeah, it's that moment inertia kind of fights back. And look, it's usually not about character, right? It's often just
Hmm.
the strategy's off, trying hard without a plan. That's just a recipe for frustration.
Totally. So, our mission today, we're diving into a whole stack of research, motivational strategies, all focused on how to keep going. Sustained effort. We've pulled out 10 key ideas, 10 secrets, really, to keep you moving.
Yeah, and this isn't about those temporary bursts of willpower, you know?
Yeah.
Right. It's about trying smarter, understanding the psychology behind sticking with it. We want to give you a shortcut to resilient, basically. Move you from feeling totally overwhelmed to having a clear path forward.
And what's really interesting, I think, from the sources is how much the best strategies focus inward. It's not about external rewards as much as building this internal psychological space where sticking with it just feels easier,
Mm.
more natural.
Okay, I like that. Building the foundation inside first. So let's unpack that internal foundation. Tip number 1, recognize the feeling.
Yeah, this one's critical. The source is really clear on this.
Yeah.
Thinking about quitting. It's not a stop sign. Feeling tired, frustrated, hearing that little voice yelling, ugh, I just can't do this anymore. Completely normal. In
Right.
fact, it's kind of proof you're actually trying. You're pushing hard enough to feel the friction.
You know, that shift in perspective is so powerful. We often treat that exhaustion like it means we're failing, right? I feel bad, so I must be doing badly. But the sources say just notice it, label it. They use this analogy like walking up a steep hill, your legs burn, you're out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
But that feeling, that physical signal, it doesn't mean the path vanished or you should just turn around and go home forever. It just means you're putting in the work.
And just normalizing it like that lifts a huge weight, doesn't it?
Mhm.
It takes the judgment out of the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So when that I want to quit thought pops up, you don't spiral. You just go, there's that feeling. And then you focus on, okay, what's the next tiny action?
Okay.
It reduces that internal battle, which actually leads perfectly into tip 2. Remember your why.
Ah, yes, your secret fuel. This is that core, deep down reason you started this whole thing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it might be professional, getting that promotion that needs better English. For others, it's super personal, like finally being able to chat properly with family overseas
Yeah.
or watching movies without subtitles.
And that why, it acts like your emotional North Star, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It pulls you forward when pure discipline just isn't cutting it. If your why is kind of shallow, like, oh, I just want to sound smart, it probably won't hold up under pressure.
Yeah, probably not.
But if it's something really meaningful, like I need to connect with my grandkids in Canada, that becomes this almost unbreakable promise you've made to yourself. The sources even suggest that on those really tough days, you don't just remember the why, you actually visualize the pain of quitting.
Ooh, that's a clever psychological angle. Don't just picture the win, picture what you lose if you stop.
Exactly. That potential loss, it really reinforces why you started. And this ties right into tip 6, which builds on that emotional core. Visualize your success. And this is way more than just, idle daydreaming.
Right. It's like mental rehearsal, isn't it? When you're feeling low, you don't just vaguely think, ooh, it'll be nice when I'm fluent. No, you get specific, high definition specific. See yourself actually nailing that presentation or laughing easily in that new language or getting that job offer email.
Yeah, and it's important to see how this works. When you visualize strongly like that, you're literally practicing in your mind. You're carving out those neural pathways for success. It actually reduces anxiety for the real thing because, well, your brain's kind of been there, done that already. You're not just seeing the result. The goal is to try and feel the emotions, the joy, the relief, the pride of achieving it. It keeps the dream feeling real and close, not like some impossible thing years down the road.
Okay, so internal foundation. Recognize the struggle is normal. Anchor to your deep why. Mentally rehearse success. But what about when you're just running on empty? When the why feels distant and visualization just isn't landing.
Right. And that's where the sources introduce tip 5. Now, this one is presented as a key external support for building internal strength. Trust in Jesus Christ. The material frames this belief system as a primary source of spiritual power when your own reserves feel totally depleted.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're reporting neutrally on what the source material says here. It suggests that for individuals who hold this belief, when things feel overwhelmingly heavy or confusing, turning to prayer or trusting in a higher purpose like God's plan can provide real comfort and renewed energy.
That's right. It's presented not just as passive comfort, but as an active resource, something that helps you keep going. The core idea offered is finding strength in knowing I'm not alone and having faith that, with guidance, I can push through.
Mm-hmm.
And, regardless of anyone's specific beliefs, the psychological impact of feeling deeply supported, whether that's spiritual support, community support, whatever, is undeniable. It's a powerful buffer against the isolation that often comes with tackling a long, difficult challenge.
Okay, so that really rounds out the internal mindset piece. Now let's shift gears. Let's talk practical stuff, the mechanics. Because, like you said, even the best motivation can fizzle out if the actual strategy is broken.
Absolutely. And this brings us straight to tip 3. Break big goals into small steps. This is huge GE. Any major goal, learning a language, starting a business, whatever, feels like climbing Mount Everest if you look at the whole thing at once.
Yeah, total overwhelm.
And that overwhelm, the #1 killer of action.
It causes that paralysis by analysis, right? You spend so much energy just thinking about the massive scale of it all that you never actually start.
Yeah.
So how small are we talking here? How tiny do these steps need to be?
Like really tiny sometimes. Think minimum effective dose. So instead of the crushing weight of I have to become fluent in English, your goal for today might just be, I will learn 5 new words from my flashcards, or maybe I'll listen to just 3 minutes of that podcast I find difficult.
Okay.
The point is, the steps should feel almost too easy to start. It requires very little willpower just to begin.
That house building analogy from the sources is pretty good here, isn't it? You don't show up on day 1 and try to hoist the entire roof.
Right.
You lay one brick, then another. Then maybe you finish one small section of wall. These tiny steps are just less intimidating. Easier to start, easier to finish, and crucially, they build that feeling of momentum.
And every single time you complete one of those little micro steps, you absolutely must follow it up with tip 4. Celebrate small wins. This is non-negotiable if you want that behavior to stick.
Really? Non-negotiable. Why is celebrating so vital? Can't we just, tick the box and move on to the next tiny step?
You could, but you'd be missing a massive psychological trick. See, we need to hijack the brain's reward pathways. When you finish that tiny task, learn those 5 words and you consciously acknowledge it. Maybe you literally say, nice with me, or you grab a quick cup of tea you enjoy, or even just do a little silly happy dance.
Aha, okay.
You trigger a little squirt of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is the neurochemical of motivation and reward.
Yeah.
It basically tells your brain, hey, that action, the one that led to this good feeling, let's do that again.
Ah, okay. So celebrating learning just 5 flashcards isn't silly. It's actually an investment. It's wiring your brain to want to do it again tomorrow. You're linking the effort to an immediate positive feeling, not just waiting for the big, distant payoff of fluency.
Precisely. Progress is progress, no matter how small you think it is.
Yeah.
And that little win, that little dopamine hit, it stops you from feeling like you're just spinning your wheels getting nowhere.
Makes sense. But okay, even with tiny steps and celebrations, mistakes are going to happen, right? You're going to mess up. Which brings us to tip 8. And this one feels like it needs a real mental shift. Learn from failure.
Yeah, this is maybe the deepest reframe. Failure isn't a verdict on your ability. It's not a sign you're fundamentally broken or incapable. It's just data. Yeah. Highly personalized feedback, actually. Think about it. If you try to say a sentence in English and it comes out all wrong grammatically, that mistake is incredibly valuable. Why? Because it tells you exactly which grammar rule you need to go back and review.
Okay, I see that. So instead of, I'm terrible at this, it's, okay, the past tense verb there tripped me up. Need to look at that rule again.
Exactly. It's about setting up these quick feedback loops. You try something, maybe it doesn't work perfectly, that's the failure or mistake. You analyze why it didn't work, you adjust your approach based on that analysis, and then you try again. It's like rapid prototyping for skills.
The source analogy about babies learning to walk really hits this home, doesn't it?
It does. They fall down constantly. But they don't lie there thinking, well, guess walking isn't for me.
Right.
They instantly process the physics like, okay, lean too far that time. They adjust their balance on the next try, and they just keep iterating until they figure it out. Each fall is just data for the next attempt.
So the key action here isn't just try again. It's Stop, quickly analyze what specific lesson did I just learn from that mistake, and then try again, incorporating that lesson. That turns a potentially negative emotional thing into a positive step forward.
Precisely. It makes the process much more robust.
Okay, that's powerful. So we've got the internal game sorted, we've got the micro actions and handling mistakes. Now let's talk about the long haul. Segment 3, sustainability and endurance. Because this stuff takes time.
It really does. And the biggest threat to sticking it out long-term, burnout, which makes tip 7 absolutely essential. Take breaks, not quit.
Ah, the crucial distinction. How many times do we mix those two up? We feel exhausted, utterly drained, and we immediately think, that's it, I give up forever.
All the time.
Right.
But a pause is just rest. Quitting is abandoning the whole dream. They're fundamentally different.
So how does this work practically when you feel that wall coming up, that overwhelming fatigue?
You pause, you step away. And actually, the science backs this up completely. Cognitive research shows that when you're stuck on a tough problem or feeling mentally fried, taking a break, even a short one, like a 10-minute walk, grabbing some water, maybe putting on some music, is often more productive than just pushing through.
Oh.
Because it allows your brain to switch modes. It goes from that intense, focused thinking to what's called the diffuse mode. Your subconscious keeps working on the problem in the background, consolidating information, making connections, but without the pressure of conscious effort.
Interesting. So that 15-minute break isn't slacking off, is actually part of the learning process, a way to recharge and let things sink in.
Exactly. So when you're exhausted, the thought shouldn't be, I quit. It should be, okay, I need a break. A pause is my friend right now. Like you said earlier, it's marathon strategy. You have to stop for water occasionally if you want to finish the race.
Right. Pace yourself. Okay, so breaks are crucial. What's the next piece for long-term endurance?
This one is tough but critical. Tip 9. Stay consistent, even on bad days.
This is where the rubber really meets the road, isn't it? What happens when you're genuinely sick or completely exhausted or maybe just had a terrible day and feel totally defeated? The temptation is just to skip it, right? Just this once.
And that's the danger zone, because missing one day makes it so much easier to miss 2 than 3. And suddenly the chain is broken. The habit is gone.
Okay.
So consistency is king here. But, and this is key, consistency doesn't always mean intensity. If your normal routine is, say, an hour of study, but today you feel absolutely awful, your goal is not to force yourself through that hour.
Right.
Your goal is the minimum effective dose of consistency. Do 5 minutes, just 5. Read one single paragraph. Listen to one song in English while you're making coffee. Something tiny.
But even finding the will to start those 5 minutes can feel impossible sometimes. How do you manage that?
You focus only on starting. Don't think about finishing the 5 minutes. Just think about opening the book or putting on the headphones. The rule is simple. Don't break the chain completely. Doing that tiny little bit, even 5 minutes, sends a powerful signal to your brain. This habit is still alive. I am still committed, even if the effort feels minimal that day.
So consistency trumps intensity for long-term success.
Got it. Absolutely. It's the secret weapon. And that brings us to the final tip, tip 10. And honestly, this might be the most powerful and maybe the most overlooked. Speak to yourself with kindness.
Ah, the inner critic, that voice that loves to chime in with, you're so slow, or you'll never get this, or why are you even bothering?
Exactly. And that kind of negative self-talk, it's not just unpleasant, it's actively detrimental. When you constantly criticize yourself, you're literally jacking up your stress hormones, like cortisol.
And stress hormones are bad for learning, right?
Terrible. They inhibit memory formation, they reduce focus, and they kill motivation. You're essentially creating this hostile, toxic learning environment inside your own head.
Wow. Yeah.
So the antidote, you have to consciously choose to speak to yourself like you would talk to your kindest, most supportive friend if they were struggling with something difficult.
So instead of beating yourself up,
You encourage yourself. Okay, that was tough today, but look how far you've already come. Or, you're strong, you can figure this out. Mistakes are okay, they're part of learning. That kind of internal cheerleading isn't fake positivity. It builds genuine, resilient confidence from the inside out. It makes your motivation less dependent on external validation.
that makes so much sense. Wow. Okay. That was quite the journey. A really comprehensive deep dive. We've covered 10 strategies, basically a full roadmap for sticking with it, right? From mindset shifts like recognizing the struggle and finding your why,
Mm-hmm.
to practical actions like breaking things down super small, celebrating wins, learning from mistakes.
Right. The minimum effective dose, handling failure as data,
Yeah.
and then the long-term stuff.
Yeah.
Taking strategic breaks, staying consistent even when it's hard, and being your own biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, it's a powerful framework. It's designed to keep you putting one foot in front of the other. And remember, success here isn't really about achieving perfection overnight. It's about consistently applying these small, psychologically smart steps day after day.
Honestly, if you listening just take away half of these tips and really commit to them, especially maybe tip 9, just refusing to break that chain entirely, you dramatically increase your odds of seeing this through to the end, whatever your Everest is.
Absolutely. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. We want to leave you with something to chew on. We've learned that lasting motivation isn't about brute force willpower. It's about smart strategy. We just gave you 10 specific psychological tools from the sources.
Mm-hmm.
So the question for you is, which one of these strategies, maybe it's the mental rehearsal from tip 6, maybe it's that minimum effective dose consistency of tip 9, maybe it's the self-kindness of tip 10. Which one feels like it could make the biggest difference for you right now? Which one will you commit to trying, really trying, in the next 24 hours to get past that specific wall you might be facing?
Yeah, pick one. Just one to start.
Pick one, start there, keep going. You really can do this.